Well, the season's definitely kicking off, and we will definitely talk about the FPL um, in a couple of 30 seconds or so, right? Firstly, you see this top that I'm wearing. There we go. Um, this is a football top from Surprise Shirts that I got. I'm basically doing as part of the Football Manager Challenge, and it's a team you've probably not even seen or heard of. Let me show you again. Zamax, that's all you've got. This is Newcastle Zamax, a Swiss second division club. So that's going to be our challenge in the Football Manager when we download it, which will be in the next week or so. And we'll be doing that as part of our streams. We do other games as well, but one of the ones that we'll be doing every now and again will be those streams. But time to talk FPL. Time to talk game week 9, was it? I think it was. I think it was game week 9, right? And we kicked off quite spicily. West Ham losing again against Leeds. Now that could have been just down to the what Leeds is like as a club that it and especially at their own ground where it makes it more challenging, but still a little bit concerning for West Ham. If you weren't concerned before now, you are now very concerned as a West Ham fan or for West Ham players later on. But a 2-1 win for Leeds United. And then we moved over into. Hold on. Let me get it right. Hold on. Then we moved over into Saturday. We had. Was this all right? Hold on. No. That can't be right, surely. No. There we go. There we go. Apologies for that. I cannot remember my dates for some strange reason. Then we had the two matches that happened at 3 p.m. the Chelsea versus Sunderland and Newcastle versus Fulham. A lot of people who expected Newcastle to win, but no one expected Sunderland to win. And my goodness me, that was such a fun Saturday watch along that we did. That was absolutely wild and crazy. Both of my predictions, basically, in West Ham doing well and Sunderland starting to struggle. Certainly not the case, and Sunderland actually looking even better. I think it almost feels like a guarantee that they're going to stay up now. Maybe that's pushing it too far, but that's where we currently are. Manchester United winning against Brighton, that was really good given the fact that Brighton is a banana skin normally for Manchester United. So for them to win 4-2, very respectable for them. Then we had the surprise, Liverpool losing 3-2 to Brentford. Warning signs again. There's a handful of teams that have got warning signs, and West Ham, Liverpool. Those are certainly the ones from the Friday and the Saturday, and then moving into the Sunday. And the other one with the warning signs is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Really, really concerning for them as well. Losing 3-2 to Burnley. Worrying times. We had Bournemouth beating Nottingham Forest. I wouldn't say warning signs necessarily for Nottingham Forest because they've just replaced their manager, which I'm sure we will talk about because Nottingham Forest is always a good talking point. Arsenal beating Crystal Palace, that was good for Arsenal because Crystal Palace are that sort of bogey team for clubs, as I know as a Liverpool fan, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Aston Villa beating Man City, Everton losing to Tottenham Hotspur, and then on the Monday we had. Was it the Monday? No, we didn't have. Hey, hold on. There we go. Oh, for goodness sake, I keep choosing the wrong dates. It was there. We didn't have any on Monday, sorry. I keep confusing my dates, so my apologies there. So that's where we were. And in terms of my points, I got 58 points. It wasn't too bad. Compared to everybody else, I moved up a little bit, but I think I've been quite low in the leagues anyway, so not great. Getting good points for Pedro Porro, getting good points for Gabriel. In fact, all my defenders got really good points. Isidore, again, another one to really, really talk about as well. The rest of them, nothing special, nothing major. Jared Bowen did at least get an assist for the goal that West Ham scored, even though they lost, so he did get some good points. So yeah, not too bad. So that is where we currently are in terms of the teams. So then we move on to the midweek games. We actually had midweek games that were going on over the past few days, and it's worth talking about them. And I think we started off with, I think it was on the 28th, was it? Yes, 28th. So we have what's called the League Cup. Now, I think we've mentioned this before, but this is basically the top 4 divisions in England that have a knockout competition between themselves that culminates to a final in February. And so we're now getting into the last 16. These are the final 16 teams. We're moving on into the quarterfinals next. So it is, these are interesting ties and interesting games, right? Brentford got through quite comfortably against Grimsby Town. Grimsby can be beaten. Perhaps need to hold on to that. Fulham scraping through against Wycombe Wanderers, only winning 5-4 on penalties. Wycombe Wanderers are a team in the 3rd division, so a little bit interested on Fulham, and I think we might need to talk about Fulham a little bit as well. And then we move on to the Wednesday. Arsenal beat Brighton. Nice. Man City beat Swansea City. Nice. Wolverhampton Wanderers put up a fight against Chelsea, but ultimately lost. And Newcastle United beat Tottenham Hotspur. But in the middle of it all, Liverpool lost against Crystal Palace. I do think we need to start talking about Liverpool in a certain aspect, and we'll do so when we look ahead to the fixtures along with everything else. But there are warning signs there. I don't think there's any games going on today. No, so we are now jumping into there. So the first match that we've got, I believe, is on the Friday, is it? Let me have a look at the pick team. No, we are jumping straight into Saturday from the start, where we've got 5 3 p.m. games that we're going to be reacting to on the Saturday. That's going to be good fun. We've got Spurs versus Chelsea. We've got Liverpool versus Aston Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, Man City, Bournemouth, Sunderland, Everton. Interesting times. So let's start going through these, providing bigger talking points when we can. And actually, it'd be worth, dissecting a couple of these and seeing where we go. So let's start with Brighton versus Leeds. If there was ever like a match, a team where I'd be like, I actually don't know who to pick, this would probably be the one that I'd say. Brighton have the capability of winning games when they're on it, and the same with Leeds. This could be quite a feisty occasion. There is a chance that both teams could score. I'm going to put a Brighton win on this just because they're playing at home, just because they're playing at Brighton. And I think they're a little bit more organised than Leeds, but not that much. I do think that there is a chance here. So there could be a surprise on the cards for Leeds here, but I'm going to go for Brighton here. Burnley versus Arsenal. Burnley is a tough place to go at home. They are a very defensive, solid unit. But again, I think Arsenal will get over this. It'll be a surprise if they don't. They are doing incredibly well. They are fantastic. This has been the team that Arsenal have been threatening to be for about 3 seasons now. So it's good that they're finally getting over the line in terms of this. And we've got Crystal Palace versus Brentford. Will be an interesting one, this, because Crystal Palace are just getting things done. Yes, they lost against Arsenal last week, but actually they've had a really good streak of matches where they're doing fantastically well. Brentford, similar sort of thing, doing really well. Score draw, I think, is possible. And certainly, players like Mateta, players like Sarr are definitely ones to keep an eye out for. Then we come to Fulham versus Wolves, and we've already spoken about Wolves, right? That they're on this losing streak, but so are Fulham. The last 4 games that they've played, they've lost. Quietly, we've probably not noticed this, but they have lost the last 4 games. So that is quite the surprise, isn't it? I don't think anyone expected that, and so as a result, I think this could be one where both teams struggle to score. If anything, I'd say put a Fulham defender in there, but I'm not confident Fulham would get a win here. This could potentially be the boring match of the weekend. Watch that prediction flop. This is going to end up being a 4-3, isn't it? Right. Then we come to Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. Nottingham Forest, we've spoken plenty of times about. They've now got Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche has got this very good reputation of keeping teams up. I don't think it'll start now. I think it will take some time. But yeah, I think this will be like a sort of they call it a bonus points scenario where anything they get against in this match will be a bonus. But yeah, but I want to talk about Manchester United. As much as it pains me to talk about Manchester United as a Liverpool fan, I do want to talk about Manchester United in that they are looking comfortable now. And what I mean by that is it's starting to look professional. And it feels even more professional than the good streaks that they used to have under Eric Ten Hag, or the good streaks that they have had under Ollie and Jose Mourinho and Louis van Gaal. It almost, I wonder if it's part of it's down to Manchester United's goalkeeper, who looks absolutely switched on. And I'll say this, right? Bayern Deer looked terrified as a goalkeeper, and that's why it didn't seem to work for him. And Andre Onana looked daft as a goalkeeper, and that's why it didn't work out for him. It's very rare that you get a good goalkeeper that's also a bit crazy. It does happen every now and again, but not often. But now with Lamens, who looks up for it, but serious about it, I do think Manchester United have got a good goalkeeper there, and actually, good pick. Player from Belgium, and a lot of us were saying, why aren't you picking Donnarumma? Why aren't you going for Emi Martinez? I actually think Lamens is a really, really good option here. So I think Man United will get another win, and they're starting to build up some form. Yes, they were the target of criticism and banter, and when losing to Grimsby and everything like that. But I dare say they've turned a corner. I really do. Then we come to Spurs Chelsea. This is a match that Chelsea normally have the upper hand over Spurs, right? Chelsea just have Spurs' number. They could do it again this weekend, but I actually think Spurs could win this because of Chelsea's lack of discipline. If there's anyone that can irritate defenders, it's Richarlison for Spurs, right? And I suspect that he'll probably just rough up, and I reckon there could even be a red card for Chelsea. I don't think it's safe to put in a Chelsea defender. And I think Spurs have got a chance to get this. I think it'll be something like a 3-1 to Spurs. Brandon Johnson or Xavi Simons or, Kudus, the man, the myth, the legend that's Kudus has been doing really well for them. Fantastic. I think Spurs will get a win here, and I think they'll deserve it as well. Now we come to Liverpool, Aston Villa. The one thing I want to mention about Aston Villa, just before we get on to the Liverpool thing, is the Harvey Elliott situation. And I wonder, because the thing is, he's not been picked for the past 4 matches. I think he might be on loan from Liverpool. If he is on loan from Liverpool, with like a purchasing clause, then he won't be picked for this match either. But I do wonder whether it's more for emotional reasons than anything else. Anyone that's seen Harvey Elliott over the past few years knows that he is an incredibly passionate footballer and has been brilliant for Liverpool. He's come in clutch. He's scored incredible goals. Yes, he scored the winner against PSG last season, but he also did the same against Crystal Palace the year before. I think it was an equaliser the year before, and he was the very essence of work ethic and work rate. So to see him not be picked, I might be clutching at straws here, but it almost feels like he's demotivated. It almost feels like he doesn't want to play, and that's surprising. Maybe Diogo Jota's death has had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out at another point, but yeah, it really feels like Harvey Elliott's not with it. And let's be honest, Unai Emery would pick him if he did put in the work, but I do wonder if the grief has got to Harvey Elliott. We forget he's 21, 22. It's really sad. That's the thing that's made me sadder than seeing Liverpool's losing streak is seeing Harvey Elliott struggle as well, because he's a good kid, really good kid, and it's sad to see him not do well. But now we come on to talking about Liverpool, and yeah, they've lost 6 games out of the last 7, 6-7, way, and it's worrying. The one positive that we can draw from the midweek loss is the fact that because of the team that Arne Slot picked, all the players have had a rest, but there seems to be... I'm going to say it's like a fight of two playing styles. The best way of describing this is, we've all, rattled off the team for Liverpool for last season that did so well. Alisson in goal, Van Dijk and Konate in central defence, Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, Robertson at left back, Gravenberch and McAllister as the sort of the midfielders, Szoboszlai as the hard-working attacking midfielder, Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right, Diaz up front. Can rattle them off, right? And the fact is that playing style works because of Robertson's age. He actually spent a lot of the time almost as a third centre back, and would race forward only occasionally. And so Van Dijk almost had a two partners, let's say, right? You think of the Trent Alexander-Arnold thing. He wants to stay wide and wants to put crosses in and wants to dictate the play. Gravenberch and I would say the midfield is the one thing that's stayed majority the same, although even then that's changed because of the fact that Szoboszlai has played more as a right back. Diaz would sacrifice his position to allow Salah to get the move into the box and get the shots on goal. It was all very much driven. It was almost like a protecting Van Dijk because he might not have the pace, and protecting Salah in terms of allowing him to shine offensive and attacking wise and not do that well back. But now we have a left back that wants to run forward in Kirkes. So Van Dijk's lost his partner. We have Wirtz, who is making nice assists, but he's not been the hard worker that Szoboszlai is, and I think the price tag means that he is almost like the target of the opposition right now. And you've got Isak and Ekitike, and let's be honest, they ain't giving up the space, are they? And it looks like we've got this fight of the two playing styles. And you know what? It's sad to see. Salah's getting a lot of backlash, and stats-wise, you could understand the backlash, but it's sad because actually the team doesn't work for Salah anymore. And Salah's playing style doesn't work for the team. We've got this sort of battle that's going on between the two, and it's like, where do we go from here? And I want to stress this so much. If it needed to be stressed as a Liverpool fan, I adore Salah. One of the things that is making it so difficult is the effect it's having on him. And I think he is also feeling the brunt of the grief, and especially that thing of, I suppose the best way to describe it is, if you've like got a parent or a grandparent has passed away, even if they don't say anything to you, you've almost got this innate desire to want to do well for them. And when you fail at something, it almost feels like you're failing them. When you're like not living for yourself for a little while and you're living for somebody else, and every failure is scrutinized and maximized. I wonder whether Salah is feeling that from losing Jota. That it feels like every missed chance, every misplaced pass, every dribble that's not quite working. The same dribbles and um, the same ones that he missed last season, but now it means so much more and it's maximised more because guess what? He wants to do it for Jota, and he doesn't need to be focusing on it. And what's heartbreaking is that I'm in this thing of like going, maybe we need to sell Salah. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that I don't want Salah in my team, and got everything to do with the fact that I don't want to see Salah suffer like this. If I was Slot, I'd be potentially saying to Salah, do you know what? I think you need a break. A week, 2 weeks, to just think about nothing. Speak to a sports psychologist, psychologist, one of the two. Just talk it out, because out of everyone, it seems to be affecting him the most. And I think it's because, Kelleher has had this drive of wanting to be the number one, so he's doing well at Brentford, and he is doing well at Brentford. Really, really good. But yeah, the two players that seem to be mostly affected by it, probably three players actually, and I'm thinking Canate as well. They're putting pressure on themselves, I think. And it's difficult. And, we're thankful we've got players like Ekatike and Frimpong that are trying to inject a little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of life. But it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. So I'll say this. Like I say, if I was Salah, I'd be saying to Salah, give yourself a break. We'll try and cover for you. And then if we don't do it in the next two matches, you can sweep in and be the hero. And you'll feel great about yourself, right? But it'd be a risky move because of the amount of losses. But something needs to gel, and I don't know what it is. And so because of that, when it comes to the Liverpool Aston Villa game, I'm slightly heading towards Aston Villa. But I genuinely cannot tell you who's going to win, because this is what that thing. I hear this phrase sometimes a lot. They'll figure it out. They just need to figure it out. At some point, Liverpool will figure it out. I hope. And when it happens, it's going to be crazy and wild, and there's going to be the biggest wave of transfers in of Liverpool players you've ever seen. But until that time, I don't know who to give you as players that could fit that mould. It's really going to be interesting next few weeks. And right now, it's a gamble, whoever you pick from Liverpool. Then we got West Ham Newcastle. Again, West Ham really struggling. For me, and we'll talk about it a bit later, this will be probably my last week of the West Ham gamble, and then we'll cut our losses and go from there. Newcastle, again, they're on a bit of a run, but I think they're coming up to some more difficult matches, so they will be wanting this win for definite. Then we got Man City versus Bournemouth. You'd expect the team higher in the table to win, so it's going to be a Bournemouth win, isn't it? Haaland, is he going to continue to dry up? Well, we are at the Etihad, so he'll probably get 1 or 2 goals. But Bournemouth are just that team that keep fighting. Could you imagine if we had another Leicester season with Bournemouth or Crystal Palace winning the title? Quite fascinating to see. So I'm going to say this could be a draw. Really could be a draw. And as for Sunderland Everton, wow. 2 teams that have really been on the rise. Everton, look, they got a 3-0 loss against Spurs, so they're probably now losing that honeymoon period of Grealish performing, but he'll probably switch back on. But Sunderland, they continue to defy expectations. In fact, it's really funny. The one time that we predicted them maybe to win, they've lost, which was the game against Burnley. But every other match where we've been like, oh, they're going to really struggle here. They're really, really going to struggle here. They win. They win. They win. They win. They get the draw. They win. Like wow. Incredible. And again, I'm actually going now to a Sunderland win. I think it's going to be a Sunderland win. I'm mad, aren't I? But anyway, let's look into our team right now. In this situation that we've got Kelleher in goal, Truffer, Gabriel, Pedro Porro, Caicedo, Kudus, Saka, Vietz, Isidore, Bowen, João Pedro, with Sells, Xavi, Gusto, and Ronaldo. And I think we need to start looking into this in terms of transfers so that we can see all the teams together. Let me switch over to this screen. And here's where I'm looking into this, is that I can see a couple of changes that I want to make, but maybe one that I need to make. And what I'm thinking is that the Arsenal players are going to stay. That they're the guarantees. They've got Burnley, so they're likely to stay. Sunderland players, ideally, I would like to have Ronaldo out, but I can cope with him in another match. Isidore is going to be staying. As I say, Joe Bowen's going to be. This is going to be our last week of gambling with him. The Chelsea players, not confident. João Pedro's not been performing that brilliantly recently. He started off really well and now starting to struggle. Maybe with Delap coming back from injury, he'll fire up. Truffaut we're keeping because he's been absolutely excellent and really worth the 4.5 million in the game. The 2 goalkeepers, I'm happy to keep them as they are because I'm comfortable with Kelleher. I'm really happy with my pick of having Kelleher in goal. And the Spurs players, Kudus, Pedro Porro, Xavi, I'm sort of okay with. So here's the thing. It is a case of who do I pick, and as I mentioned, I don't have faith in Liverpool. And right now I'm in this situation where, as you can see, if we scroll a little bit up, that I've got 6.6 million. I don't know who to spend it on. And by the end of this, we're going to have more money to not know who to spend on. Maybe. Or maybe I'm changing my mind right now. Because Xavi is struggling. Yeah, I've confirmed it for myself. The one player I'm bringing in is going to be Ismail Assar. I don't know where he is in the thing. I'm pretty sure he's in the midfielders. Let me just double check. Yeah, Sarri's in the midfielders. 6.5. So it's who we take out. Caicedo, when he's on his game, he'll be brilliant. Saka. So these two, guaranteed. Kudus is guaranteed. So it's going to be between Wirtz and Xavi. Now, here's the thing for me. 3 Spurs players against Chelsea is a risk. 3 Chelsea players against Spurs is a risk. But my thinking is that I'm quite comfortable actually with having 3 defenders. The majority is going to be in the midfielders. You think in terms of formations, whether it's like a 4-4-1, a 3-5-2, I think 5-3-2 is probably the only difference to it. But most of the time, you're going to have the majority of your players as midfielders. So you need to have your most comfort and your most confidence in midfielders. Now, here's the thing. Wirtz is still that one where I'm like, he still keeps showing me that he's good. He still keeps showing me that he's got it. Whereas Xavi, I mean, he's been having injury scares and things like that, and not great. And they did lose against Newcastle, so I'm going to take Xavi out, and I'm going to put Ismaila Sarr in. Ismaila Sarr has been absolutely excellent for Crystal Palace. I'm really happy with him. I cannot say that there's ever a time not to have Ismaila Sarr. I remember having him when he was at Watford, and was brilliant for them. So that is going to be the transfer we're going to make. We're going to take Xavi Simons out. We're going to put Ismaila Sarr in. So in terms of our team, we are probably going to put him in instead of Bowen, maybe. João Pedro. I don't know why. And what we're going to do is we're going to put Ronaldo instead of Gusto. And that's going to be our team. And this, again, is a bit of a cover thing. We've got Kelleher that covers in case Crystal Palace do have a duck. We'll make Saka a captain, yes, given the last few points. And we'll continue with making Kudus vice captain. By the way, this is something to keep an eye out for Spurs players as well. Their next few matches are a little bit concerning. In fact, if we look at the full thing, Fulham is their only easy match in the next 5 matches. They have got Brentford and Forest, but even then, that could be interesting times. So, something to keep an eye out for Spurs players. You're probably going to have loads of opinions on players that I should have in and players that I shouldn't have in, given the fact that I've made quite a lot of poor choices. But this is my team. Maybe you've got some thoughts on it. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. And until next time, guys, and until this weekend's fixtures, very good day to you guys, and take care.